Hey everybody, Chris here from chrisamericos.com, where we help you level up and show the world the best version of yourself. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you how you can speak faster like native speakers using 22 different filler words. What are filler words, and should you even use them? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you 22 examples of filler words in English and explain what they mean and how you can use them. But first, subscribe to this channel and click the bell button to get notified every time we publish a new video or when we go live, so you can join us for live speaking practice. Now let's get started. A filler word is just a word that we use when we don't know what to say, or when we're taking some time to think about what we want to say next. Many people say that filler words are unintelligent and that you shouldn't use filler words. But I think the complete opposite. I think that when you're speaking a foreign language, filler words make you sound more natural because native speakers use filler words a lot. Now, if you see someone giving an official speech, like the president or someone at a big work conference, then probably they don't use many filler words because it doesn't sound right. It sounds like they don't know what they're going to say next. And those speeches are planned and scripted, so they should know what they're going to say. But when we're just talking with people in real life, we use a lot of filler words because sometimes we need to take a pause and think about what we're going to say next. And I think that you'll agree that it's better to think before you speak. Otherwise, you might say something that you don't want to say. And the first filler word actually isn't a word at all. It's just a sound. And different people might make different sounds to say the same idea. I usually say, or I might say, or some people might say, and they might do this at the same time. They might just scratch their head like, I don't know what I'm gonna say next. You've probably heard English speakers make some kind of sound like this. And sometimes it can be confusing because you don't know if that sound is part of the word that they're going to say or if they're just thinking before they say the word. So it might sound a little bit like this, right? So making this sound really shows a person that you're thinking and you haven't stopped speaking. Because if you just completely stop speaking while you're thinking about what to say, then the other person might think you're finished speaking and it's their turn to speak. Filler word number 2 is also just a couple of sounds. It's oh and ah. And we use these sounds to show surprise or to show someone that we hear them. We use them a lot with active listening, where we just need to show the other person that we understand what they're saying, we hear what they're saying, and they can continue. But they might also be used as a reaction to what someone has said to us before we start speaking and saying our own opinion. So maybe Mike says to me, Chris, I'm not coming to your house tomorrow. And I say, oh, I thought you were coming to my house. So the word oh just shows that I'm surprised, I hear him, I received this information. Or maybe John says, Chris, look at my new car. And I say, ah, that's a cool car. And I'm just showing him that I'm reacting to what he said. I heard what he said. But, you know, these sounds, oh and ah, they don't really add a lot of meaning. But enough with all the sounds. Let's go to filler word number 3, which is so. This is one that I hear a lot of people make mistakes with. And that's because the word so has a few different meanings. It can mean very, like I'm so tired. It can mean that's why. It can give us the reason why we do something, like the phrase, that's why. I was tired, so I went to sleep. We can also use the word so to mean the same or exactly that. And we can do this after somebody says something. So a person can ask me, Chris, do you think Mike is tired? I think he looks tired. And I can say, yeah, I think so. And this means I think the same thing that you just said, or I think exactly what you just said. I think he looks tired. I think so. If we want to disagree with what was said, we can say, I don't think so. Or we might also use this word to say, I like things to be a special way. Like in the Friends episode where Ross says, I like things just so. It means I like them in a special way that I know, exactly in this special way. And those are all of the correct ways to use the word so, but there's one more. We can use so as a filler word. So let me give you an example. Oh wait, I already did. That's right, we can put the word so at the beginning of the sentence, and it's just like an introduction to this sentence. Another way that we can use the word so is like, and what? In fact, sometimes we say, so what? For example, maybe Mike says, Chris, you look really tired, and I can say, so what? This means, why is that important? Why does that matter? Or it's not important. And you don't have to say so what, you can just say so, usually with a special intonation. So, like that. For example, you say, Chris, I don't like your YouTube videos. And I say, so? It means I don't care, or that's not important to me. Like, and what? If a person says this to you, you can reply back with so, and then give them a reason. So maybe I said, Mike, you look really tired today. He says, so? I say, so, you should get some sleep. You can see that the word so might mean like, and what, but it could also be, and that's why you need to do something, because the word so can give us the reason for doing something. I know all of that probably sounds confusing, but that's why we need to really pay attention to the meaning of the word so, because I hear a lot of people misuse it, and they use the word so in an unnatural way. When they use it in some parts of the sentence, it sounds like they're using a different meaning of so, not just as a filler word. As a filler word, it usually goes at the beginning of the sentence. So, where do you want to eat? In this example, it really doesn't add any new meaning. Where do you want to eat? And so, where do you want to eat? Just gives us an introduction into the question. Maybe the person needs to take a pause before speaking, or maybe they're just thinking about what to ask. It would be okay for a person to say, I'm Mexican, so I like Mexican food. This means because I'm Mexican, this is the reason that I like Mexican food. But it does not make sense if somebody says, I'm Mexican, so do you want to get something to eat? Because here the word so doesn't sound like a filler word. Yes, it's two different sentences, and so maybe the person who's speaking thinks that it's just a filler word here. But to me, it sounds like they're saying that this is the reason for something. They're saying, I'm Mexican, and that's the reason why do you want to get something to eat? See, it just doesn't make any sense. And it's really confusing when I hear people who are learning English use the word so like this. They're trying to use it as a filler word, but it's not really a filler word when they use it in a sentence like this. So, if you want to use the word so as a filler word, it's best to use it at the beginning of a sentence and not connect it to another idea. Filler word number 4 is well. And this is another one that I hear a lot of people who are learning English use too much or incorrectly. Well is similar to so because we use it a lot at the beginning of sentences. Oh, you want an example? Well, I'll try to think of one. You can use it in other parts of sentences too, but you should be careful not to use it too much or to use it in places where it might be confused with the other meaning of the word. The word well is the adverb from the adjective good. So you can say, I am good, this computer is good, this film is good, but if we're going to use a verb and describe an action, we should use the word well. He runs very well. He plays football very well. He makes YouTube videos very well. Don't forget to subscribe. The filler word well makes more sense than the filler word so in the middle of sentences. For example, I'm really hungry and, well, I'm gonna go get something to eat. It's just an extra word, it's just an extra thought, it just gives us more time to decide what we're going to say next. Let me repeat something really important here. Any filler word that you use again and again in multiple sentences in a row is going to sound very unnatural. There are some filler words that natives use a lot in almost every sentence, but that's really what makes our speech sound like we're not confident and we're not very intelligent. Instead, you want to use filler words sparingly. And one of the words that especially highlights this point is number 5, the word like. There are some groups of people who speak American English who tend to use the word like a lot in their speech. I don't think that it sounds good. Most people say that it doesn't sound good, it doesn't sound smart, but still there are some people who use it a lot. In fact, they might say a sentence like this. I wanted to go get something to eat, and I didn't know where I wanted to go. So you can see here that the word like really means nothing in this sentence. It's just an extra word that allows the person to think for one more second before they say the next words in the sentence. But the word like has other meanings too, of course. Usually the word like is used to compare two things. So I can say, he is like me. He has brown hair. He has brown hair like me. And so we're comparing two things. That's okay. That's the usual way that we use the word like. Like can also be a verb. I like you. You like me. Or press like after you watch this video. Those are the standard meanings of the word like. But like can also be a filler word, as we saw in the example. We can also use the word like in some special expressions. For example, like this or like that. I can tell you, no, don't move your hand like this. Move your hand like this. And so I can show something and say like this or like that. And it helps the person who's listening understand what example I'm showing them. Sometimes native speakers will also use the word like to say that somebody said something. We might say, Mike said he was coming to my house, and then John said that he was not coming. And Mike was like, why aren't you coming? And John was like, I'm busy that day. So the word like can show that somebody is saying something. The word like can also be used to present an example of something. For example, you can use the word like as a filler word, like, and then I can give you an example. For example, many people love sports like soccer, football, baseball, basketball. So before I started giving examples, I used the word like, and this tells the person who's listening that these are going to be the examples. All right, number 6 is you know. A lot of native speakers will use this filler phrase, and it's kind of funny when you think about it because it's usually used as a question, you know? That's how they use it. They just add it at the end of a phrase and make it a question, and then it's asking the other person to say that they're listening and that the person who's speaking can continue. I might say, there are billions of people on the planet, you know? And many of them watch YouTube, you know? So it's not really a question that requires an answer, it's just a filler phrase that asks if you're listening or not. But sometimes this filler phrase annoys me, and I sarcastically answer people. They'll say, it's really hot today, you know? And I'll say, no, I don't know. I haven't been outside, so I don't know. And of course, people don't like it when I do that, but they're asking the question, you know? And I think it's silly to ask this question all the time, even though I know that it's a filler phrase. Oh, Chris, you're so silly. Another thing to remember about this filler phrase is that we don't usually pronounce it you know. We usually pronounce it you know? And it usually has this question intonation at the end. You know? Great, now you know filler word number 6, and we can go to filler word number 7, which is another phrase, you see. This one is very similar to you know, because it's also a question that we ask at the end of a phrase to check that someone is listening and that we can go on. I also like to use this at the beginning of phrases. I might say, you see, that's why we use filler words. But still, I use this question intonation, and it prepares you to hear the answer to that question. I said, you see, that's why we use filler words. And so the listener feels like I asked the question, but they're still not sure what the question is, and then I give them the answer to the question, you know? In this video, you probably hear me use a lot of filler words in different places, even when I'm not giving examples. It's very hard to control your speech and to hold back and keep out all the filler words. And if you look back at my previous videos, I'm sure I use a lot of filler words and filler phrases. But it's really hard not to do it, you see? Alright, the next filler word, some people might say isn't a filler word at all. They might just say that it's a regular word. It's the word very. And I include it in my list of filler words because people use it too much. It doesn't sound good if we say, it's very hot, so I'm not going to wear very many clothes because I'm very sensitive to the temperature. Actually, that sentence wasn't too bad because we just used the regular meaning of very 3 times. It's just very repetitive. But sometimes people use very to give them more time in the sentence. They'll say, yeah, today was very difficult at work because I had very many tasks. you see, in that case, the word very doesn't really add a lot of meaning. It's just something that can give us more time to think. Another example very similar to this is the word really. And the meaning of really is very similar to very. So someone might say, we were driving really fast and I was really scared and it was a really dangerous thing to do. So again, just like the first example with very, this sentence is okay, it's just very repetitive. It's really repetitive. But if we use it to give us more time to think, then it acts more as a filler word. For example, this video is really long and really useful. So of course we can make this really long and give us more time to think and then to say the next phrase. Another way that we might use the word really is before some action that we want someone to do. We might say, you should really subscribe to my channel right now. And when we use it like this, it doesn't mean very, it means something like, in fact, you really should do that right now. I'm serious about it. You should seriously do it right now. No, really, subscribe right now. Filler word number 10 is the word just. This is another confusing one because it has a few different meanings. A lot of people use it as a filler word. They just throw it in the middle of the sentence and just want to give them more time to speak, and that's why they just use this word in just every place in the sentence. So you can see in that example how someone might use the word just as a filler. Very often the word just is used to mean something like only. I just asked a question. I only asked a question. I just went in the shop to buy some bread. I only went in the shop to buy some bread. But just can also mean that we've done something not long ago. We've done it very, very recently. So in the example, I've just gone in the shop to buy some bread, this could mean that I very recently went in the shop to buy some bread, maybe 30 seconds ago. The word just also has another meaning that a lot of people don't know, and this is correct or right. We can say, he is a just man. Here, the word just is an adjective that describes a person or a system. It's connected to the word justice. So when we use it with those meanings, it's not a filler, but when we just throw it in the middle of sentences everywhere, that's when it's a filler. Filler word number 11 is the word right. And I know that you have heard me use this in all of my videos. I'll say something to you, and then at the end of that, I'll ask you a question, and I'll say, right? For example, you've already subscribed to my channel, right? Or now you understand what I'm talking about, right? So the word right is a way to confirm that the person heard what you said and that they agree with you. And sometimes it's just a rhetorical question. A rhetorical question is a question that doesn't need an answer. A person asks it just to ask the question, but doesn't expect an answer back from you. Right? Right. Native speakers use this a lot. And again, it's something that annoys me a little bit, even though I sometimes do it myself. I mean, I'm just speaking and I'm thinking of what I'm going to say next, and I don't know what to say, so it's okay to say something just to give me more time, right? Usually the phrase I mean is used to clarify something that we've already said. So I could say, I don't want to eat right now. I mean, I'm not hungry. And in this way, I'm saying the same idea with two different phrases. So if the person didn't understand me in the first phrase, I can use I mean, and then give them a clearer understanding of what I was saying. But very often the phrase I mean is just used to give the speaker more time to think. And number 13 on our list is very similar to I mean. It's I guess. I guess it's time for me to think of better examples. The phrase I guess is sometimes used so that we don't have to ask a question. We can just say something and the other person will understand that we are thinking about something in our own minds. And it tells the person that really we want an answer, but we haven't asked a question directly. So maybe Mike tells me, Chris, I'm not hungry right now. And I can say, I guess you don't want to eat. And so when I say this phrase, it means that I'm thinking that you don't want to eat because of what you just said, but I don't know the answer. I'm just guessing. People will also use the phrase I guess in a lot of their answers to show that they're not confident about the answer. Hey Chris, do you want to come to my party tomorrow? I guess. This means yes, but I'm not 100% sure. And filler phrase number 14 is very similar. It's I suppose. Hey Chris, do you want to watch another video? I suppose. Again, we're saying yes, but we're not very sure. We're not confident about our answer. And we can use it to ask a question without asking a question. I suppose you're enjoying this video because you're still watching. When I say this phrase, it means I'm thinking about this, but I'm not sure. So it would be great for you to give me more information, for you to say, yes, I'm enjoying this. Or for example, for you to write a comment under the video and say, Chris, this is the best YouTube video I've ever seen in my life, right? Phrase number 15 is by the way. This is another one that I hear people use way too much. I'm not talking about just native speakers. I'm talking about people who are learning English. They love to throw in this phrase every chance they get. Oh, by the way. By the way. The phrase by the way just adds more information, and maybe we don't even need this information. So maybe Mike says, hey Chris, are you coming to my party tomorrow? I say, yeah, I am. Oh, by the way, John is coming too. And so when I say by the way, it means I'm going to give you more information. I'm going to give you extra information, additional information that maybe you didn't ask for, or maybe you didn't even need. By the way, if you want to practice speaking English live with native speaking teachers many times every day, click the link under this video to go to our English Everyday program. You see? That was a great example of using by the way. And filler word number 16 is anyway, or many people will say anyways, and they both really mean the same thing. So the last phrase we talked about was by the way, and this just introduces new extra information. But when we say anyway or anyways, it closes the information that came first, and then it introduces something new. So Mike tells me, hey Chris, I'm not hungry, so I'm not gonna eat right now. Anyways, I'm going to John's house later, and I'm gonna eat there. And when he uses the word anyway or anyways, he separates these two phrases. He closes the first idea and then opens the second idea. And this filler word is great if you just want to change the topic or change the subject of your discussion. Maybe people are talking about something that you think isn't important, isn't useful, and you can say anyways, and then you can go to a new topic. This is really funny when a person is saying something that doesn't really make sense or it's kind of strange. So Mike says, Chris, did you know I can eat more pancakes than anyone in the world? And I say, anyways, and then I change the topic to something else. And this will tell Mike, I think that's boring, I think that's not interesting, I think it's not useful, and let's close that topic now. Number 17 is the phrase in fact. And a lot of people who are learning English use this too much. In fact, I can't think of an example of when you might use it. Ha ha ha. This is probably used more of a filler phrase in writing than in speech, because it sounds a little more formal. It's hard to come up with an example using this phrase. In fact, I don't know if I've ever used it in speech. I'm just kidding. Of course people use this, but you should be careful not to use it all the time. The next filler word, which is number 18 on our list, is seriously. Now, you can use this word in its regular meaning and it's not a filler. I seriously want to help you learn English. It means I'm serious about it. I'm not joking, for once. But sometimes we just use this word to react to what somebody says. Hey, Chris, I can eat more pancakes than anyone in the world. Seriously? It means, are you serious? We might also say, really? And this filler word and the next four filler words all end in ly, which usually means that they are adverbs. Not always, but usually. And they might make the person who's listening think that we're expressing a lot of emotion, but really it might just be a filler to give us more time. So I might tell John the story of what Mike was saying before, and I might say, John, Mike seriously told me the story of him eating pancakes 100 times. He seriously thought I was interested. So the word seriously does have a meaning here, and we could say that I'm just telling John something and I'm very serious, but that's not really what's happening. I'm just using this word to give me more time to think and to add some extra emotion without really choosing better words. And filler word 19, which is actually has a very similar use. I can tell you that Mike actually told me a story about how he could eat more pancakes than anyone in the world. He actually thinks that he can do that. And again, the word actually in this case means something like really or seriously. We might also use the word actually at the beginning of a sentence. So Mike might ask, "Hey Chris, do you want some pancakes?" And I say, "Actually, I'm hungry, so yeah." And in this case, it means something like in fact. Like, I really am hungry, so yes, I will eat some of your pancakes, Mike. Filler word number 20 is the word basically. And again, this can just be added into different parts of a sentence, and it doesn't really have a deep meaning, but someone might just be trying to get more time to think about what they should say next. So basically, you could add this word into basically any sentence that you basically were saying at any time. And of course, this word does have a meaning that we can use in a sentence. For example, if we say a long, complicated sentence and then we want to say a simple version of it, we can use basically to say that this is the basic or simple way to say it. For example, in this video, I'm telling you 22 words and phrases that you can use as fillers, and I told you that some people think fillers sound unintelligent and that they are just used to take up space. So basically, I'm telling you, don't use them too often. You see, this is the regular meaning of the word basically, not as a filler. But another filler word that we use, which is number 21 on our list, is the word obviously. Native speakers love this word. Obviously. It means that you should already know. You should already see the answer. Mike told me his pancake story, and obviously I wasn't interested. So obviously I just said, okay, whatever, Mike, and I obviously just left and went home. So when we use obviously, it means that we're saying that it should be very clear to you, that you should already know this before I say it. It is obvious. And obviously, people do use filler words. You just need to be careful not to use them too frequently. And that brings us to number 22 on our list, which is the word literally. A lot of native speakers like to use this filler word to exaggerate something. To exaggerate something means to say that something is bigger than it really is. So we have an idiom in English. We can say, "I'm so hungry that I could eat a horse." Why a horse? I don't know, but that's what we say. And sometimes a person might say, "I could literally eat a horse." So when they say "I could literally eat a horse," it means that they are very serious about this, that they really could eat a horse, that it's not just an idiom. But the problem is that a lot of native speakers today use the word literally when they are not literal about something. It means they don't really think that, or they're not really going to do that, but they use the word literally anyways. They literally use this word everywhere. That was an exaggeration, yes. So maybe I'm driving to Mike's house to pick him up, and I'm 10 minutes late. And when I get to his house, Mike says, "I've literally been waiting for an hour." And what he's saying is not that really he was waiting for an hour, but he's saying that he's been waiting for a long time. Sometimes it's difficult to understand when a person really means that they literally did something, and when a person is just using the word literally as an exaggeration or as a filler word. Sometimes it's hard even for me to understand the difference there. But at this point in our video, you've literally learned 22 filler words or filler phrases. And you know what it's time for now, right? Well, I mean, in fact, you should, right now, really subscribe to this channel. Make sure you press like, press subscribe, hit that bell button so that you get notified and you can join us when we have live speaking practice, and write a comment down below using your favorite filler word or filler phrase. And I'll see you in the next video, okay? I'll literally see you in the next video. Bye-bye.